Hey guys, welcome back. Friends, I'm super happy to see you guys here. And from today, we're gonna start exploring the concept named as Java Beans. Now, friends, Java Beans is a concept which is widely used in the industry. And when we build large application, this particular concept tends to be a very important concept, and this makes things easy and managed. So what's we are waiting for? Let's get started. But before we start, let me also share you there's a small piece of information. We were having some trouble with Eclipse and integrating Tomcat 9 with Eclipse, and we have fixed the issue. The issue was due to Windows service which was not starting at the startup. So somehow we have removed the service and reinstalled Tomcat 9, and now everything is working fine, and now we can again start using Tomcat 9.0 for our quest in learning JSP and Servlet. We have already added this particular project, Java Beans Overview, and in order to work with Beans, we need to first start with a Java class. So let me first add a package, and the name of the package could be like Bean, and let me click on finish. And inside this package, we will add a new class. Now this is not a servlet, this is a Java class. And the name of this particular class could be like name, or in fact let us keep it as username, and we will click on finish. Here we go. Now friends, Bean is all about setting and getting the values accordingly. And in this particular mechanism, in order to get started with Bean, we need to have a Java class, and in this particular Java class we can have multiple properties. So let us add a couple of properties in here. So in order to make things super simple, I will add two properties, and these two properties would be first name and the last name maybe. So it would be first name comma last name. Alright, and now Beans needs to have setters and getters, and these setters and getters needs to be in the accurate standard format. And the best way to generate setters and getters in the accurate format is by making use of IDE, by right click, navigating to source and generate setters and getters. And in here we will tick mark first name, last name. We want setters and getters both, and we will click on OK. Now what are setters and getters? The methods which sets value and the methods which returns the value back to the called statement. So these are setters and getters. So we are done with it. Let us navigate to the project, and we will create couple of JSP files now. So by highlighting web content, let us add new JSP file, and this JSP file we will give name it as set property, and we will also need yet another JSP file, get property. So firstly, let us code set property. In this particular set property, we will simply set these two values, but in order to load the bean, there is a specific format. So we need to first load the bean. For doing so, I will type in JSP : use bean, and the ID would be the identifier of the bean. So ID is username, and again we need to provide the class, this particular class. So we need to give the exact name, as we have not imported the class in this particular set property. So the fully qualified path needs to be given to this particular use bean syntax. So in here we will type in bean dot username, and lastly we need to also define the scope, and scope would be, let us give the scope as session to start with. So in here ID is the identifier of the bean. We will use this particular identifier often. Class is the path of the class which would be used to set and get the values, this particular class. And this particular scope, we would take a separate lecture to understand the scope of a bean in the forthcoming lectures. Now we would actually set the bean, and even to set the bean we would require a property which would be JSP set property, and this particular name would correspond to this particular ID. So firstly, let us copy the ID and paste it in here. So this particular statement will understand that which bean we are talking about by identifying the name of the bean. So username is the name of the bean, or in other words, which is the identifier of the bean. So in here, in this particular identifier, which property needs to be set? And if we check this username, we have first name and last name as the property. So we will set first name first. So we will type in first name in here. Let me copy this real quick and paste it in here. And the only thing we need to change in here is the name of the property. Last name. Lastly, in order to make things simple, let us give the value directly from here. So I will define the value as Chand and value for last name as Sheikh. Now this particular setting of the property is done. Let us get the property. For doing so, let me copy this line from here and I will paste it in here, and in here I will type in first name colon, and in here we will type in JSP colon get property. The name of the property is first name and the name of the bean is username. Likewise, let me copy this line again and quickly let me update it. Last name, and it would be again last name. Alright, so this is the overall idea how we can get the property and set the property. Let me execute the set property.jsp. So the output is done. Let me now execute get property.jsp and it should output Chand Sheikh. Yes, so the first name is Chand, last name is Sheikh. We can definitely update the view little bit by adding a br tag in between so that we can get the output in separate lines. Alright, so this is all about like a setting and getting the property easily, and this particular concept is simple but yet powerful. And this was the overview of beans, and we will dig more into beans and we will also check how to use bean with respect to forms in the upcoming lecture. I hope that I have made myself clear and you guys have enjoyed the lecture. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.